For 300 years, Earth had been cut off from the rest of the galaxy. The Galactic Union had placed a warning beacon in orbit around the solar system. The message was simple: Class 5 Deathworld, no contact permitted. But after centuries of debate, the Council finally decided it was time to learn more about the humans who had survived on such a dangerous planet. The observation ship, Stellar Whisper, dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. On board were 12 researchers from 3 different alien species. The scholarly Zorians with their blue skin and 4 eyes led the scientific team. The diplomatic Vexians, who looked like tall, slender humanoids with silvery skin, would handle any needed communication. The reptilian Krell warriors provided security, their scaled bodies and natural armor making them the most likely to survive if Earth proved as deadly as its classification suggested. Zotval, the lead Zorian researcher, gathered his team on the observation deck. Through the view screen, they watched the small blue planet spinning quietly. That innocent-looking world has atmospheric oxygen at levels we consider toxic, Zotval explained. It has wild temperature swings from freezing to boiling. The gravity is 1.2 times standard. There are regular storms, earthquakes, floods, and fires. And yet, the humans not only survive, they thrive. Drax, the Krell security chief, clicked his teeth together in doubt. Perhaps they have evolved beyond the reports. 300 years is a long time. Lyri, the Vexian diplomat, waved her slender fingers at the screens showing Earth's broadcasts. Their technology has advanced, but look, they still live directly exposed to the elements. They build homes in flood zones and on fault lines. They even have entertainment shows about surviving dangerous situations. The aliens spent 3 weeks in orbit, monitoring Earth's communications and becoming more confused. Humans celebrated activities that risked injury or death. They exposed themselves to extreme temperatures in what they called sports or fun. They ate plants and animals that contained toxic compounds, apparently for pleasure. It defies explanation, Zotval said during the daily briefing. Yesterday I observed humans jumping out of flying vehicles with fabric devices to slow their fall. They called it skydiving and did it voluntarily. The team had set up an invisible observation station in Earth orbit, using technology that kept them hidden from human detection systems. From this vantage point, they recorded and analyzed everything from television broadcasts to internet traffic to radio signals. We need closer observation, Zotval finally decided. The Council authorized a limited ground mission if necessary. I believe it is necessary. Drax objected immediately. The surface readings confirm toxic and hazardous conditions. We should continue remote observation. Our protective suits will handle the environment, Zotval countered. And we must understand how these humans function. The Council wants to know if they could ever join the Galactic Union, or if they would pose a threat. After much debate, they selected a landing site, a small town called Pine Creek in what humans called the United States. It seemed relatively calm compared to the megacities, yet busy enough to observe human behavior. The aliens prepared their disguises and protective gear, planning for a brief observation mission. As the landing shuttle prepared to depart, the sensors picked up an alarming development. A large forest fire had erupted near their chosen landing site. Smoke filled the sky, and emergency vehicles rushed toward the area. "Abort the mission," Drax demanded. "They're having a planetary disaster." Zotval studied the human responses on the monitor. "No, look closely. This isn't unusual for them. They're organized, responding with practiced efficiency. This isn't a global emergency. It's routine." Lyri's silver skin paled slightly. A deadly forest fire is routine. "For humans on Earth, yes," Zotval said. "And that's exactly why we need to see them up close. Set the landing coordinates near the Emergency Response Center. We'll learn more there than anywhere else." The small shuttle detached from the main ship and descended toward the smoke-filled horizon, carrying the aliens toward their first direct contact with the inhabitants of the death world called Earth. The alien shuttle landed in a clearing 2 miles from the fire line. Smoke filled the air, making the sky an eerie orange-gray. Their environmental suits activated automatically, filtering the toxic atmosphere that humans somehow breathed every day. "Remember, we look like humans in these suits," Zotval reminded his team. "The outer layer mimics their appearance. Speak only through the translators." They hadn't walked far when a large red truck screeched to a stop beside them. A human jumped out, wearing a yellow suit and helmet. Soot covered his face. "You must be the backup team from the county," the human shouted over the roar of the fire in the distance. "Thank God. I'm Joe, fire chief. We've got hikers trapped at Blue Pine Camp. The road's blocked by fallen trees." Before the aliens could explain they weren't firefighters, Joe tossed gear at them. "No time to waste. Put these on over your hazmat suits. We need to hike in from the North Trail." Drax, the Krell warrior, caught the equipment with his disguised hands. "We are not." "We'll help," interrupted Zotval, seeing a perfect opportunity to observe humans in crisis. "Lead the way." Joe loaded them into his truck and drove down a bumpy dirt road. He spoke rapidly into a radio, using terms the aliens' translators struggled with. 5 minutes later, they met a woman in a green uniform at a trailhead. "Lisa Garcia, park ranger," she introduced herself quickly. "The camp has 23 hikers, including 4 children. Last radio contact was 15 minutes ago." The fire shifted when the wind changed. The aliens followed Joe and Lisa up a steep trail. The heat grew intense. Ash rained down around them. Zotval recorded everything with the sensors built into his suit, while Leary studied the calm efficiency of the 2 humans leading them. "Humans train for emergencies," Leary observed through their private communication channel. "They aren't panicking. Their vital signs show elevated stress," Zotval replied, "yet they function normally. Fascinating adaptation." They hiked for 20 minutes before reaching a small lake. On the far shore stood wooden cabins with humans gathered on the beach, wet cloths over their faces. Some coughed heavily. "The main path is completely blocked," Lisa said, checking her device. "We'll need to evacuate by boat, but we only have 2 small ones." Joe immediately began organizing the evacuation, prioritizing children and those struggling to breathe. The aliens helped load people into boats, amazed at how the frightened humans still followed directions and helped each other. Then they heard screaming from one of the cabins. "My son," a woman cried. "Andy's still in there." Before anyone could respond, Joe ran toward the cabin, which now had smoke pouring from its windows. "Impossible," Drax said. "The temperature readings inside would kill him." Yet Joe kicked in the door and disappeared into the smoke. 30 seconds later, seconds the aliens spent frozen in disbelief. Joe emerged carrying a small boy. Both were coughing violently. As Lisa helped them, part of the cabin roof collapsed in a shower of sparks. 3 seconds later, and Lisa didn't finish her sentence as she gave the boy emergency oxygen. The crisis wasn't over. As the last boat departed with the remaining hikers, a burning tree crashed down directly onto Zotval's environmental suit, damaging its outer layer. The human disguise flickered, momentarily revealing blue alien skin. Joe stared, his eyes widening. Then the wind shifted again, bringing a wall of smoke toward them. "We can discuss whatever that was later," Joe said, pointing to the damaged suit. "Right now, we need to move or we'll all be dead." Lisa looked equally shocked but nodded in agreement. "Northridge is our only option now." The aliens followed the humans through increasingly dangerous conditions. Their suits' alarms blared warnings about extreme heat, toxic particulates, and radiation from the fire. How do they survive this without protection? Leary wondered aloud. "They don't always survive," Lisa answered, overhearing through the suit speakers. "But we try anyway. That's what humans do." As they climbed the ridge with the fire chasing them, The aliens began to understand why Earth had earned its fearsome reputation. After escaping the forest fire, Joe and Lisa brought the aliens to Pine Creek. The small town was buzzing with activity as people helped those affected by the fire. No one paid much attention to the three strangers in damaged protective gear. Joe led them to a quiet fire station office and closed the door. "So," he said, crossing his arms, "you're not from the county. And at least one of you isn't human." Zotval's damaged suit could no longer maintain the human appearance. The blue skin and 4 eyes of his Zorian form were now visible through the torn sections. "We are researchers," Zotval admitted, "from what you would call the Galactic Union." Surprisingly, Joe and Lisa didn't run screaming from the room. They exchanged glances, and Lisa pulled out her phone. "I need to call this in," she said calmly. "Our government should know." "You're not afraid?" asked Leary, the Vexian diplomat. Joe laughed. "After what we just went through, meeting aliens is actually the least dangerous part of my day." While Lisa made calls, Joe found them new clothes to replace their damaged suits. The aliens were forced to reveal their true forms. The humans stared at Drax's reptilian scales with interest rather than fear. "Your protective gear is failing," Zotval observed. "Yet you seem unconcerned about the toxins in the air." "You mean the smoke?" Joe shrugged. "It's not great for us, but our bodies can handle it short term." Within an hour, a small group of local officials arrived. The mayor, police chief, and a doctor named Greg Lewis joined them. Again, the aliens were surprised by their calm reactions. "We're creating a cover story about visiting environmental scientists," the mayor explained. "Federal officials are on their way, but they'll need time to get here." Dr. Lewis examined the aliens with open curiosity. "Fascinating. Your physiologies must be very different from ours to need those protective suits." "Your atmosphere is toxic to most galactic species," Zotval explained. "The oxygen levels alone would kill many races." The humans seemed surprised by this information. Later that evening, the town held a community dinner for the fire evacuees. The aliens watched in amazement as people who had nearly died hours earlier now laughed, ate together, and planned rebuilding efforts. A woman approached their table. "I'm Emma Clark, the high school science teacher. Joe told me about you. Would you like to see more of our town tomorrow?" The aliens agreed, eager to observe human behavior. The next morning, Emma took them on a tour of Pine Creek. What they saw astonished them. Children played sports, risking physical injury for fun. People drank coffee and ate spicy foods, voluntarily consuming substances that would be considered dangerous toxins on other worlds. Construction workers balanced on high beams without safety equipment. Elderly humans walked alone despite their physical fragility. At the high school, Emma invited them to observe her chemistry class. Teenage humans casually handled chemicals that would be kept in secure facilities on other planets. "Aren't these substances dangerous?" Leary asked as a student mixed compounds. "Of course," Emma replied. "That's why they learn proper handling procedures." In the school cafeteria, they watched a student accidentally spill hot soup on himself. Instead of major medical intervention, the boy simply changed his shirt and continued eating. His skin was damaged, Drax noted, yet no emergency was declared. "Minor burns happen," Emma explained. "Our bodies heal." As they left the school, they witnessed a car crash at an intersection. Before emergency services arrived, ordinary citizens rushed to help, pulling people from vehicles and providing basic medical care. Zotval recorded everything. "They don't avoid danger," he told his team privately. "They expect it and adapt to it." A black government vehicle pulled up beside them. A man in a dark suit stepped out. "I'm Agent Dan Wells," he said. "I've been sent to assist you. The government would like to extend an invitation for you to see more of our world." The aliens looked at each other. Their brief visit had already challenged everything they thought they knew about humans, and there was still so much more to learn about this death world and its remarkable inhabitants. Agent Dan Wells drove the aliens and Emma to Chicago the next day. The government had prepared special accommodations for the visitors and enhanced their protective gear. As they approached the massive city, the aliens stared in disbelief at the skyline. "You build your homes that high? In this gravity?" Drax asked, pointing at the skyscrapers. "Some people live in them, others work there," Dan explained. "The tallest one in this city is almost 1,500 feet high." Zotval's instruments began beeping as they entered the city limits. "The air quality is decreasing. Toxin levels rising." "That's just urban pollution," Emma said. "Not ideal, but we manage." The aliens watched through the car windows as millions of humans moved through the city. Vehicles sped by within feet of each other. People crossed busy streets while looking at their phones. Construction workers dangled from partially built structures hundreds of feet in the air. "This is significantly more dangerous than Pine Creek," Leary observed, yet humans appear unconcerned. Dan parked near a busy plaza. "We'll walk from here." The government wants you to experience a typical human city firsthand. The aliens reluctantly exited the vehicle. Even through their protective suits, they felt overwhelmed. The noise level alone would cause hearing damage on their homeworlds. The crowds pressed around them, sometimes bumping into them without concern. Zotval monitored human vital signs with his equipment. Their stress indicators are elevated, yet they show no signs of distress. They passed a gym where humans were lifting heavy weights and running on machines. They deliberately strained their bodies. Drax asked, confused. "Exercise makes us stronger," Emma explained. "Our bodies adapt to stress by becoming more resilient." At a restaurant, they watched humans eating foods containing capsaicin, caffeine, and alcohol. All of these are defensive plant toxins or fermentation products, Zotval noted. Yet humans consume them voluntarily. "For pleasure," Dan added with a smile. "The spicier the better for some people." As they continued their tour, the aliens noticed how many dangerous things humans took for granted. Electrical outlets delivering deadly current, kitchen knives sharp enough to sever limbs, boiling water for tea, cars driving at lethal speeds, glass windows that could shatter, balconies high above the ground. Their tour brought them to a crowded public event in a park. Hundreds of humans gathered to watch a concert. The aliens stayed at the edge of the crowd, still recording their observations. Suddenly, a loud explosion came from near the stage. Smoke filled the air. People screamed. "Terrorist attack," Dan said sharply, pulling out his weapon. "Stay behind me." The aliens expected complete chaos and panic. Instead, they watched in amazement as the crowd organized itself. Some people ran to safety, but others immediately began helping those around them. Strangers protected children they didn't know. Ordinary citizens ran toward the danger to help the injured. A small woman in street clothes began giving medical aid to the wounded. She tore strips from her own shirt to make bandages. "I'm a nurse," she explained to those around her. "My name is Kelly. I need clean cloth and something to use as splints." Drax, the Krell warrior, found himself frozen in uncertainty while the small human female calmly organized a triage area. Even Dan seemed impressed by the woman's composure. "Is she a special human? A trained crisis worker?" Leary asked. "No," Dan replied. "She's an ordinary nurse who happened to be at the concert. This is just what humans do." As emergency services arrived, the aliens watched the seamless coordination between professionals and civilians. The attack had been devastating, but the human response was unlike anything the aliens had seen in their travels across the galaxy. "They live with danger every day," Zotval said quietly to his team. "Not just environmental dangers, but threats from their own kind. They've evolved to respond to crisis as a community." "I've seen warriors with less courage," Drax admitted, watching Kelly continue to treat patients, even after being injured herself. As the situation stabilized, Dan received new orders through his communication device. "Change of plans," he told the aliens. The government thinks you should see something else about humans. We're going to a military training facility next. If you want to understand why Earth is classified as a death world, you should see how we prepare for threats. A military helicopter carried the aliens to a remote desert training facility. The heat outside reached levels that would kill most galactic species without protection. Yet the human soldiers worked in these conditions wearing heavy gear. Captain Frank Johnson met them when they landed. Sand swirled around his boots as he saluted Agent Wells. "Welcome to Fort Horizon," he said. "We've been told to give our visitors the full experience." The aliens followed Captain Johnson to an observation platform overlooking a vast training area. Soldiers crawled under barbed wire, while live ammunition fired over their heads. Others practiced with explosive devices or fought hand-to-hand in the burning sun. "This is how you train?" Zotval asked in disbelief. "With actual danger. How else would we prepare for real combat?" Captain Johnson replied. "Simulations only teach so much. Bodies need to learn real responses to real threats." Drax, the Krell warrior, finally seemed impressed. "My species also trains with live weapons, but not in such harsh environmental conditions." The captain led them through different training zones. They watched soldiers jump from aircraft, swim across cold water carrying heavy packs, and practice urban warfare in mock buildings rigged with traps. Medical teams treated real injuries right on the field. "Every year, we lose a few trainees to accidents," Captain Johnson admitted. "But without this preparation, we'd lose many more in actual conflict." The aliens began to understand that humans didn't just accept danger. They deliberately sought it out to become stronger. In the afternoon, they visited the technology division, where engineer Olivia Baker showed them military equipment. "Your vehicles have minimal protection," Leary observed, examining a Jeep. "Speed and maneuverability matter more sometimes," Olivia explained. "We adapt to the situation rather than trying to make everything perfectly safe." While touring the weapons development lab, they felt the ground shake. Alarms blared throughout the facility. "Dust storm incoming," Captain Johnson announced calmly. "Severe one, by the readings. Training exercise is now a real emergency situation." The aliens watched as soldiers smoothly transitioned from training to emergency response. Everyone put on protective masks and began securing equipment. There was no panic, just efficient action. Then the radio crackled with real fear. "Mayday! Mayday! Transport helicopter down at Grid 27. Medical emergency." Captain Johnson gathered a rescue team immediately. The storm must have caught them during patrol. "We need to move fast." To the aliens' surprise, they were invited to join the rescue. "You wanted to see how humans handle a death world," Captain Johnson said. "This is it." They boarded a reinforced vehicle and drove into the growing storm. Visibility dropped to almost nothing. Sand particles battered their vehicle with such force that the aliens were certain it would be damaged beyond function. The humans seemed to consider this normal. At the crash site, they found a helicopter on its side. 3 injured soldiers lay nearby, while 2 others had set up an emergency shelter. Despite the raging storm, the rescue team worked methodically. Olivia showed the aliens how to help move the injured into the vehicles. "Press here to slow the bleeding," she instructed Zotval, placing his blue hands on a wound. "Human bodies can replace lost blood, but too much loss will kill us." As they worked to stabilize the injured, the storm intensified. One of the rescue vehicles became stuck in the sand. Without hesitation, soldiers got out and began digging, exposing themselves to the skin-scouring winds. "Why not wait for the storm to pass?" Leary asked, struggling to understand. "The injured won't survive that long," Olivia explained, wiping sand from her protective goggles. "Worth the risk." Drax joined the humans digging out the vehicle. His naturally armored skin gave him an advantage in the storm. Working alongside the soldiers, the Krell warrior gained a new respect for these physically fragile beings who refused to surrender to their harsh planet. As they finally freed the vehicle and continued the evacuation, Captain Johnson looked at the aliens with pride. "This isn't even one of Earth's more extreme environments," he told them. "We have Arctic training, jungle training, underwater operations. Humans live and work everywhere on this planet." Zotval realized that humans hadn't just adapted to survive Earth's dangers, they had embraced them, using every challenge to become more resilient. He began to wonder if classifying Earth as a death world had been a fundamental misunderstanding of human nature. After the rescue mission, Agent Wells brought the aliens to a NASA research facility. Their protective suits had been upgraded again, allowing them to interact more easily with the environment, while still filtering the toxic Earth atmosphere. "Science is humanity's greatest strength," Agent Wells explained as they passed through security. "It's how we overcome the challenges of our world." Inside, they met Dr. Paul Martinez, a physicist working on new propulsion systems. He greeted the aliens with an excited handshake, seemingly unbothered by their strange appearances. "Welcome. This must be quite the culture shock," Dr. Martinez said. "Our world must seem incredibly dangerous to you. Your gravity alone should have prevented your species from developing advanced technology," Zotval replied. "The energy requirements to escape Earth's pull are enormous." Dr. Martinez smiled. "That's why we built bigger rockets. Come see what we're working on now." The aliens followed him through laboratories where humans worked with high voltages, extreme temperatures, and dangerous chemicals. Safety protocols existed, but the aliens noticed how humans accepted a level of risk that would be unthinkable on other worlds. In the main research bay, Dr. Martinez showed them an experimental engine designed to test new concepts for space travel. "Today we're running a stress test," he explained. "We deliberately push the system until something fails." "You intentionally cause failures?" Leary asked, confused. "Of course. That's how we learn the limits of our designs," Dr. Martinez replied. "Trial and error drives innovation." From a control room, they watched technicians prepare the engine test. The aliens noticed that despite the serious nature of the work, the humans joked with each other and seemed relaxed. Dr. Martinez explained that many of Earth's greatest scientific discoveries came from accidents or failures. He talked about scientists who tested dangerous theories on themselves, explorers who died seeking knowledge, and researchers who spent lifetimes pursuing ideas that others called impossible. "Humans advance quickly because we take risks," he said. "We try things before we're certain they'll work." As the engine test began, instruments showed rapidly rising temperatures and pressures. The aliens grew nervous as safety margins were exceeded, but the human scientists watched with calm interest, taking notes. Suddenly, alarms blared. A containment system had failed, and high-energy plasma was leaking from the test engine. "Emergency shutdown," someone yelled. The test chamber sealed automatically as protective systems activated. The aliens expected panic, but instead saw the humans moving quickly through what was clearly a practiced emergency response. Some scientists rushed to computer terminals, others grabbed safety equipment, and security personnel calmly directed people toward exits. Dr. Martinez stayed at his monitoring station, rapidly typing commands. "The primary containment failed exactly where we predicted," he said, sounding almost pleased despite the danger. "That confirms our theory about the material weakness." "But this is a disaster," Zotval said. "The experiment failed." "No, this is data," Dr. Martinez corrected him. "Now we know how to make it better next time." As the situation stabilized, the aliens witnessed something remarkable. Instead of blaming each other for the failure, the scientists gathered to discuss what they had learned. They seemed energized by the near disaster, already planning improvements. "I understand now," Zotval said quietly to his team. "Humans don't advance despite living on a death world. They advance because of it." Later, in a conference room, Dr. Martinez showed them Earth's scientific history. He explained how pressure to survive in different environments had driven human innovation. Early humans had created tools to hunt dangerous animals, medicine to fight diseases, and agriculture to control their food supply. Our greatest breakthroughs often come when we're facing extinction, Dr. Martinez said. Necessity drives invention. As they prepared to leave, emergency sirens began wailing throughout the facility. Agent Wells received an urgent message on his communication device. "There's been a major earthquake on the West Coast," he said grimly. "San Francisco has been hit hard." Dr. Martinez was already grabbing his coat. "I'm coming too. They'll need every hand they can get." Agent Wells turned to the aliens. "I know this wasn't in our tour plan, but would you like to see how humans respond to a natural disaster? It might help you understand us better." The aliens looked at each other. They had witnessed human reactions to danger in controlled settings, but this would be different. A true test of how Earth's inhabitants faced their death world at its most hostile. "We will come," Zotval decided. "We must see everything if we are to understand." A military aircraft flew the aliens to San Francisco in just 3 hours. As they approached the city, they saw smoke rising from multiple locations. Buildings had collapsed, and roads were cracked open. The earthquake had struck with little warning, measuring 7.9 on the human scale. "Tectonic plate activity is common on Earth," Agent Wells explained. "We build knowing this will happen, but we can never fully prepare." They landed at a makeshift command center where emergency services coordinated rescue efforts. Hundreds of humans rushed around, setting up medical tents, communication systems, and supply distribution points. Despite the chaos, there was organization. A tired-looking woman in a uniform approached them. "I'm Fire Chief Samantha Reed. Are these the visitors I was told about?" She looked at the aliens without much surprise. "Well, you picked quite a day for sightseeing. Stay close to your guide. It's dangerous out there." The aliens were assigned to different areas to observe the human response. Drax went with search and rescue teams, his Krell strength proving useful in moving debris. Leary joined a medical triage center. Zotval was sent to a damaged elementary school where children had been trapped. At the school, Zotval found himself working alongside a teacher named Susan White. Despite a bleeding cut on her forehead, she focused entirely on helping her young students. 10 children are still inside," she told him, pointing to a partially collapsed building. In the East Wing classroom, rescue workers carefully entered the unstable structure while engineers assessed which areas might collapse next. Zotval was amazed by how quickly humans evaluated and accepted risks when lives were at stake. Inside the classroom, Zotval discovered something unexpected. The teacher trapped with the children had organized them into a game to keep them calm. They sat in a circle, singing songs and telling stories, while dust fell from the ceiling and aftershocks rumbled through the ground. "You're keeping them from panicking," Zotval observed as rescuers began evacuating the children. "Fear is contagious," the teacher explained. "So is courage." Across the city, Drax worked with a construction worker named Bill Hayes to free people trapped in an apartment building. The human showed no fear as he crawled into spaces that could collapse at any moment. "My sister lives on the 3rd floor," Bill explained as he carefully cut through a fallen support beam. "But I'd be doing this even if she didn't. That's just what you do." Drax had seen many warrior species across the galaxy, but few with this kind of courage. The willingness to risk death not for glory or duty, but for strangers. At the medical center, Leary watched doctors perform emergency surgery in tents, using flashlights when power failed. A nurse taught the alien how to help hold IV bags and comfort the injured. "Have you done this before?" Leary asked, amazed at how quickly humans adapted medical practices to crisis conditions. "Not exactly this," the nurse admitted, "but we train for disasters. The human body is surprisingly tough if you keep it going long enough for its natural healing to kick in." As night fell, the aliens regrouped at the command center. They shared their observations, each having witnessed different aspects of the human response. What impressed them most was not just the official emergency services, but ordinary citizens becoming rescuers, nurses, and providers. They don't wait for authorities, Zotval noted. Every human seems to believe they have responsibility to help. And they find humor even now, Leary added, having heard jokes and laughter among rescuers dealing with the most dangerous situations. Agent Wells joined them, looking exhausted but determined. Tomorrow will be harder. The first day is adrenaline and hope. The second day is when reality sets in. You expect more deaths? Drax asked. Yes, Wells answered honestly, but we also expect more rescues. Humans have survived in collapsed buildings for days. We never stop searching. As aftershocks continued to rumble through the ground, the aliens witnessed humanity at both its most vulnerable and its most resilient. This wasn't like the military training or scientific testing, where risks were calculated. This was Earth itself attacking its inhabitants without warning or mercy. And yet, the humans fought back with everything they had. Not as individuals, but as a collective force, each person playing their part in a species that had evolved on a planet that seemed designed to kill them. I think I finally understand, Zotval said, as they watched the rescue efforts continue under floodlights. Earth isn't a death world because it's dangerous. Every planet has dangers. Earth is a death world because it created humans. And humans refuse to die. 3 days after the earthquake, the aliens returned to their ship orbiting Earth. Their protective suits were battered and damaged from their experiences on the planet's surface. Each carried data recordings and personal observations that would form their report to the Galactic Union. On the observation deck, they watched the blue-green planet spinning below them. It looked peaceful from orbit, its dangers hidden beneath swirling clouds. It's time to discuss our findings, Zotval said. The Council will expect our recommendation about Earth's status. The 3 aliens sat around a circular table. Holographic images from their journey floated above them. The forest fire, the military training, the laboratory accident, the earthquake response. Each image showed humans facing danger with remarkable adaptability. By any objective standard, Earth remains a Class 5 death world. Zotval began. The gravity is high, the atmosphere is corrosive, the weather is extreme, and the planet itself is unstable. Even without natural dangers, the humans create their own risks through their technology and conflicts. Drax, the Krell warrior, tapped a clawed finger on the table. True, but we were sent to evaluate the humans, not just their planet. And these humans, he paused, searching for words. They are not what we expected. Leary nodded in agreement. They don't simply survive Earth's dangers. They are shaped by them. Each challenge makes them more adaptable, more innovative, and more dangerous, Zotval asked. The question hung in the air between them. The Galactic Union had isolated Earth partly because of its deadly environment, but also because of concerns about what kind of species such an environment would produce. They are dangerous, Drax admitted, but not in the way we feared. I watched humans risk death to save strangers. I fought beside them against their world. There is honor in how they face threats. Their scientific advancement is concerning, Zotval noted. They take risks in research that other species would never consider. This makes their progress unpredictable. But they created beauty despite living in constant danger, Leary countered. They make art, music, and find joy even when their world tries to kill them. That shows remarkable spirit. They debated for hours, reviewing everything they had witnessed on Earth. They had seen humans at their best and worst, but always adapting, always fighting to survive. Finally, Zotval reached a decision. I propose we recommend a new classification for Earth, not just a death world, but a crucible world, a planet that forges strength through adversity. The others agreed. They prepared their report for the Galactic Union, explaining in detail why humans deserved reconsideration despite their dangerous homeworld. 6 months later, Earth received its first official delegation from the Galactic Union. Hundreds of officials gathered at a specially built landing facility in a field outside Washington, D.C. Joe Miller, the firefighter who had first met the aliens during the forest fire, now wore a formal uniform as part of Earth's Welcome Committee. Beside him stood Emma Clark, Agent Wells, and representatives from around the world. "Are you nervous?" Emma asked Joe as they waited for the alien ship to land. "After everything we've been through, this is the easy part," Joe replied with a smile. The massive ship descended from the clouds, much larger than the small research vessel that had brought the first observers. When the doors opened, dozens of alien species emerged, each wearing protective gear designed for Earth's environment. Zot Val, Leary, and Drax led the delegation. They had been appointed as Earth's first ambassadors because of their experience with humans. "Welcome to Earth," Joe said, stepping forward to greet them. "We hope your stay on our world will be safe and productive." Zot Val's translator conveyed his response. "The Galactic Union formally acknowledges Earth as a member world. Your unique perspective will be valuable to us all." As humans and aliens began their first official diplomatic exchange, Zot Val noticed something interesting. The alien delegates moved cautiously, aware of Earth's dangers. But several younger aliens watched the humans with fascination, clearly eager to understand how these beings had mastered such a hostile world. Perhaps someday, Zot Val thought, the galaxy would understand that Earth's greatest creation was not its dangers, but the humans who had turned those dangers into strength. The Deathworld had created a species that refused to accept limitations, and that might be exactly what the galaxy needed.